Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, hello. Welcome to Rebel Republic. You're either with us or you're against us. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. You're listening to the number one political talk show locally in Worcester, Massachusetts, but also number one in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Delaware, New York, Connecticut. Doesn't matter. We're just the best of the best. And because we are so good, we have a very, very special guest. And that's the pull that I have being the best podcast host in the universe. It's all because of me that this man is here. We have a state senator from New York who is on the Rebel Republic, Senator Griffo. Welcome.
Steve, thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you. And you said you all these listeners. Do you have Bernie and Ben listening in Vermont?
Yeah,
And Bernie
of course,
Sanders?
of course.
Well, right now they're having
AOC listens all the time.
You got a votorama in Washington, so maybe Bernie's kind of focused on what's taking place there, as opposed to listening to you tonight. But you never know.
Yeah, Bernie's a tough one to figure out, but he's on the campaign trail with AOC. They're doing some things. But my father, I don't know politics that well, so I always ask questions. And on the drive over here, my dad usually gives me things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted me to ask you what your thoughts are on the mayor of New York who's running.
Well,
because he's
let's not call him the mayor. Hopefully, all right.
Just a primary, Steve. They're just a primary.
He won the primary,
I know.
And
my dad thinks the other guy can beat him.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, New York City is always very complex, and I think the difficulty in the city of New York, and it affects a lot of the state as a whole, ultimately, sometimes nationally too. You look back historically to when New York was really facing significant financial challenges, probably in the mid 70s, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And Ford was president and Kerry was the governor of New York at the time, Hugh Carey. And they had to basically rescue the city of New York. They were on the brink of bankruptcy. I think the mayor at the time was Abe Bean, a small, short guy, little guy there, right? He was a financial guy too, but the city was a disaster. The reason I tell you that is because it's important that people understand this, because
listen, Massachusetts,
that drain can affect not only the city, but the rest of the state of New York and nationally, potentially, because they were looking for federal bailout back in the 70s. And I remember reading all this stuff. In fact, the one headline that was in the Daily News or the New York Post was Ford the city dropped dead. They had asked for money, national money. So that's why there's people need to take an interest in this. And it's got to be a lot more than flash and substance. So Mandami's lure at this point in time, in my opinion, is that he's articulate.
He's charismatic.
And he worked, right? But if you listen to him, it's scary.
Well, he's very evasive.
Well, he is a declared, they call themselves the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA.
Yeah, they're communists, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, if you listen to some of the things he's proposing, and generationally, you have to look at this stuff and say, well, is this resonating when you say, I'm going to give everybody free buses? Yeah. I'm going to create a city grocery store. Yes, I mean, I don't know of any government, anybody that has dealt with the government and thinks that they can run an organization well, like a grocery store.
Yeah, you can manage. They can manage that.
And so I think he outworked. I think Cuomo really was relying on name ID.
Yes,
and ran a traditional campaign, whereas Mandami went and did the social media. He was TikToks. He was out there, but again, the warning to everyone here is when you see the press, by no means, with the exception of the New York Post, potentially, who is conservative.
Correct.
But when you look at the Times and the Daily News, these are not conservative newspapers.
No.
And when all three of them agree that he's a potential problem for the city of New York, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now you have liberal and conservative media warning you. But more importantly is when the Chicago Tribune comes out and says, New York learn from our mistakes.
We've had it. We don't want it.
They did the same thing in Chicago. They had the individual that ran similar, charismatic, and I'm going to do this and that. And Chicago's a disaster.
Yeah.
And New York City needs true leadership. This individual has no experience in any type of managerial.
He's 33 years old. When I was 33 years old, I couldn't do anything.
He has not had a job.
Right.
He is a rapper. He was a musical rapper.
He's an
at
influencer.
one point.
And a community organizer. But the key there to remember, it's not the age, because a 33-year-old could do the job if you had the proper experience. If you had some, if you were doing something, running something.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at presidents.
You were under someone's wing. Yeah.
Take a look at presidents. When you elect some of the senators and everything, they've never had any executive experience. Some of your better presidents have been governors,
right?
Who have run states, like Ronald Reagan. When he ran a state like California, and that doesn't mean that they necessarily would be the ideal. Clinton ran Arkansas. In fact, if you remember, that was a Ross Perot line. Is just because you can run a mom and pop store don't mean you can run Walmart. You know what I mean? And his insinuation was Clinton ran a state, but it was a small state.
Right. It's Arkansas.
But still, it's more executive style experience than Zoran Mandami has right now.
Right.
And I think that I'm really concerned.
A lot of people are. The
fate and the future of the city of New York. And when you have like AOC telling you he's the best thing since sliced bread, and Bernie Sanders coming there too, it's
a communist party.
But the point is the following: when you are elected mayor, your primary responsibility, in my opinion, I'm a former mayor of a small city, but still have to run an executive branch.
Right.
That means you need to make things work. You need to clean the streets, plow the streets, pick up the garbage, make sure the transit is running to pick people up, keep people safe, both from a fire perspective and police perspective. I don't hear him talking about any of that.
No, he's
talking about sanctuary status.
Yes.
And how he's going
taxing the rich.
And how he's going to protect democracy.
Yes.
No, your job is to run the city.
Yes.
To run the city, to make it work so people can afford to live there and people can feel safe there. He uses the buzzwords of affordability, but he has nothing to show or demonstrate how he will do that.
No, he gives no substance.
I've heard him say that he wants to take $1 billion away from the police budget.
Yeah, he wants to defund the police.
A $6 billion budget. He wants to take basically almost 20% away.
He's going to tax the rich.
Well, he's going to
tax all the businesses.
Million and over, right. and he's going to tax
all the businesses are going to leave.
White communities.
Yeah.
He's going to tax white communities at a higher rate than wherever they're. I don't know how you have this demographic broken down to where a community is entirely white. So if there are 2%, 3% minority in that community, do they pay less taxes than the rest of the whites in the community?
Brooklyn or Manhattan will pay more taxes.
What he's done is this. He's smart. He's grasped onto the anger that the 35 and under crowd in New York City and around the country feel. The anger is that they can't survive, and I don't disagree with them right now.
Well, right. How much
rent and house ownership is abysmal. What it costs to rent or to own a home is beyond anyone's means coming out of college or having an initial job come out to live. Okay,
affordability.
Food costs are very high. If you live in New York City and you got to buy a $25 drink every time you go out, you can't go out, so you can't have a social life.
Well, your rent is minimum $3,000.
Right, you're
for a studio.
So you sound like the guys that, and remember the guy that ran for governor, Jimmy McMillan. The rent is too damn high.
With gloves, I got to put my white gloves on. But I understand their side in a way. Here's the thing that's happening, though, is that this is expanded into not just a monetary issue about how I'm going to give daycare for free and free buses and free that. It's also turned into an anti-Jewish issue.
Well, it's a social issue.
It's grown into a almost a anti-religious fervor, also sparked by the conflicts that are going on in the Middle East right now. But you're looking at a city that has been divided by pro or anti-Israeli relevance and feelings. And I think that's going to.
He's playing off of that, and that's smart of him.
But I think that will be the demise of him in the election, because this may be a time where a Republican will win the New York City election.
Well, I don't know that we'll see that, and I would hope that you could see that. Curtis Lee was a candidate right now, and if you look and you contrast regardless of how you perceive an individual contemporarily, presently, say like Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
But when he ran the city well.
Yes.
And so did Michael Bloomberg for the next 12
Mayor
years. So
Bloomberg,
for 20 years, the city functioned. I think people forgot that.
Yep.
When Rudy got in there after post-Dinkins, you saw the city was a disaster then too. And it was just because he didn't manage well, right?
Right.
Good man, but he didn't manage well. And
He didn't know what he was doing.
City was in disarray. And when they came in and they put CompStat in from a police perspective and the broken windows theory, where all these things made a difference in the quality of life. And he showed that even a city that most people believe is unmanageable can be manageable if you do it the right way.
Right.
And Bloomberg continued that. And you're not going to agree with them on everything. My concern right now is, and I hope that the people of the city of New York really wake up and listen to what the individual is saying and try to determine, is he really going to be able to do this, or what he wants to do may be dangerous to doing. And as you indicated right now, if you look at his comments in the past, don't look at what he's saying today, because he's going to polish everything up, and present himself differently in order to get elected. Look at him historically through the last 10 years of his life.
That's all.
And the things he's saying that are anti-Semitic and that are
Very.
or the free things that are impossible to deliver on ultimately, because who is going to pay for these things? There's no such thing. It's free. And taxing the rich is not going to pay for everything. You're going to be looking at money coming. He's going to have to come to the state for things, and that's unfair to the upstate economy.
And if he comes to federal, who's he coming to? Trump?
So. Trump likes him, I thought.
No, he's called him a communist.
I'm kidding.
You're telling me that he thinks he's going to go to the federal government and say, we need help?
I think
Donald Trump's just going to open the floodgates?
No.
He's going to cut all money.
He'd laugh at him.
It's going to be like Escape from New York. Remember Kurt Russell and Escape from New York?
We talked about
New York City's going to be.
He's going to be a foil to the president. And again, to me,
and the mayor of New York has power.
Right. And you also have a presence, right? A stage.
Yes.
But my point is,
platform.
you still are the mayor, and the people have elected you to lead their city and to make their city better from an affordability perspective, from a safety perspective.
Yes.
I do not believe he has the ability or even the desire to do that, even though he's saying that. The rhetoric is there, but I don't believe you'll see the results.
He's very self-centered.
And you're seeing this across the country. The coming attractions that the Chicago Tribune is saying, pay attention. We made a mistake. Don't repeat the mistake. And when you see the media, liberal and conservative, united and saying, you better look at this again, voters. Now you had that happen in Buffalo, a little different, even though it's the second largest city in the state of New York. You had an ideologue win the primary, and that was a very difficult situation. She won, and everybody realized, oh my God, she won, and this is going to destroy the city. So the incumbent mayor did not even have a line on the ballot.
Oh my God!
They had to write him in. But to show you how they were able to get the message resonated to say she is not going to be able to run the city. This is not about philosophic political positioning that you see in a congressional race or a national race for president. This is running the city of Buffalo or New York.
Right.
She doesn't have what it needs or takes, and as a result of that, the incumbent mayor at the time was the write-in campaign was successful.
Right.
Byron Brown beat her. It's my hope in New York City now people will wake up. Because there's a propensity to just vote party loyalty there, and that's
they do
concern.
Party lines. Right.
But I want him to win, Joe. Here's why I want him to win. I want New York to be a Holocaust winter, in other words. So in 4 years, the city will turn into a place that no one will want to go to, no one will want to live in, and no one will want to support.
It'll be a sanctuary state and
whatever it may be. But I'm just saying, and then if that happens, let's say that happens. Let's say he wins, and let's say the city goes upside down, belly up. That will be the greatest.
Come here.
That will be the greatest proof of concept of the conservative movement to say, "Hey, listen, here it is. It's on paper. You see what happened. It's been destroyed, and don't bring it back again."
Yeah, and that's what it would take.
But the problem is, you have that taking place in cities like LA and in Chicago, and so it's there, and they're seeing that these cities are struggling significantly. And even under policies of Gavin Newsom in California, you see the problem, and yet people continue. This is a great thing that many people are confused about. Many people leave, and this is another trend that is really worth evaluating and determining as to why. But people are leaving the blue states like New York and California, and they're moving to states
Yes, like Florida,
like Texas or Florida, or the Carolinas are a perfect illustration.
Yep.
And they leave to get away from these policies.
Yeah.
But then they go down to those states and they begin to vote the way they did here that brought those policies.
Right.
And you're seeing some of these states now say, what the hell is going on?
Yep.
And that's why they're turning purple, but they can't understand it.
Right.
They're saying you left to leave these policies,
Right.
these mandates, these high taxes, the unsafe communities, and yet you're voting for the same type of people down here. So that's a phenomenon we've got to figure out.
Yeah.
Because if not, what you're saying, I understand, but it may actually not work. And as a result, you're going to damage the largest city in our country.
Right.
You know, we got to have some pride in that, right? This is
how much how much urine will be on the free transit buses in the city as every vagrant decides to come onto the bus and use it as a sleeping vehicle because it's warm in the winter.
Well, I'll ask you this. The mayor and the speaker just passed the budget for New York City tonight. It's $116 billion. It's the largest budget in city history.
Yeah.
It includes funding for expanded 7-day library services, mental health services, early child development for 2-year-olds, and immigration legal services. That's what they passed. The city council, they've been fighting for the legal services up until the final deal amid the increased immigration enforcement and deportation efforts in the city. But now it finally passed.
Right. Well, I mean, and you look at some of those programs from a mental health perspective.
Absolutely.
From a the other aspect that you were talking about with childhood development. That makes sense. You know, you got to find a way to deliver services and meet needs. But when you talk about the providing free legal advice, and the governor did the same thing, $50 million of state taxpayer money going to pay for legal fees for these undocumented illegal migrants that are here. That's where people stand up and say, enough is enough.
Right.
That's wrong, you know, and we've got to find a way to become more pragmatic. We've got to find a way to apply common sense to problems. And we're not doing that right now. There's too much ideology that are motivating this.
Right.
And that's a problem right now, motivating policy decisions. And
well, yeah, they're saying that this was easy. They fought for a while over this, but it was easier for Adams to pass because it's an electoral year.
Right.
And they believe that this budget, because they're spending so much, is going to make him look good and give him a better chance in the election.
Well, I think Adams's issue is just the way he ran the city for the last 4 years. Probably similar to Dinkins back in the day, you know, where they really weren't organized well and didn't manage well and didn't.
Well, he inherited a lot of de Blasio's mess that was left over that period of time.
Ultimate mess. I mean, de Blasio was a disaster.
Crushed it. But
this de Blasio couldn't even get places on time, you know, as the mayor. So, I mean, I think Adams had a challenge, but right now it'll be interesting because if Cuomo stays in the race, if Adams is in the race and Sliwa's in the race with Mondami, it becomes a little more interesting. And I don't know, that's where you got to talk to somebody like the pollsters, like Zogby polls and stuff to figure out, you know, what's trending right now. Right. What are they hearing from people? Are they paying attention? And is this guy, is it like Buffalo, where finally they woke up and said, we can't have this? Yeah,
well, you won't have the young population in the 5 boroughs vote Republican. I think, but what you will see is you will see older Democrats turn and vote Republican to be able to stop that flow of enthusiasm and groundswell that Mondani has brought. You know, because I'm telling you. I love the ideas, but you got to show me on paper how physically that's going to work and not bankrupt the city.
Well, I don't even know if the ideas are good because I don't know how a government grocery store really resolves the problem. I mean, you take it this area here, we actually have a great way to do the Compassion Coalition.
Yes.
Here. Pastor Sorvello with the Redeemer Church.
Great guy.
And they have developed a model, a 501c3.
I go there.
Right. So
bargain grocer.
And that bargain grocers doing the same thing that Mondami says, but not having it government owned. You know, having the private sector, the non-for-profits, the community coming together to say, look, we have to make these prices affordable for those who have lower incomes. So there are ways to do this. And this is a better example than having the government do this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know anybody that can say, "Oh, the government runs such a great operation."
No, never. But
No.
I do like the daycare aspect of it for child care, for people who go to work that are single mothers or single fathers. That how do you
child care is so
you're
expensive.
talking. I mean, you're even in our area here, it's just $300 a week just to watch your child.
Easily.
Right, easily. So I mean, that's a drain on people's financial statuses. But I mean, so there's for me, we need to find a way, government-wise, nationwide, to provide health care for everyone. And the Obama, whatever it is. We've got to find a way. We've got to find a way to cover our citizens. No, I mean citizens. If you're illegal here, then you're not going to get covered. You're not going to get Medicare or Medicaid or whatever it is to be able to cover yourself and free this and that. That's my number one thing.
He's from his car.
Are you in the cave in Afghanistan again?
No,
It's
he's
there.
coming home from his game. Coach, this is the senator. Senator.
Hey,
Griffo.
Senator.
Hello, Coach. How are you?
Good. I'm surviving. I just got through a youth game.
Yeah, his
All right.
kid was at a baseball game.
Youth baseball. Hey,
21-10. It might as well have been a football game.
We're talking about your favorite guy, the mayor of New York.
No, not
mayor,
the mayor. That would be Eric Adams. He's talking about Zoran.
I
He's
know,
like a
I
big
know.
Zoran
He
fan.
knows.
Oh,
Yeah, well, Dave loves him too. Dave thinks he's great.
right.
Dave's Jewish, so that's why Dave's a big fan. But
first
yeah,
of all,
I mean,
I'm not Jewish. I'm a born-again Christian.
Born again Christian. Come on, Steve.
I know, but you're still part Polynesian and Jewish. I mean, you got to count it.
Okay, yeah, very fair enough.
It's
But
a
no,
na-
I don't
it's-
like
it's
him
na-
because
it's
he's a
not your religion.
communist. I don't like him
Yeah.
because he's a communist.
He's a communist.
Well, we thought you'd be looking forward to going to the government grocery store, and getting
Yeah. Everybody wants to go to that.
On the way there.
From Jersey.
They're gonna have bread on Tuesdays, Dave. Free guy to the government grocery store.
So, Dave,
That's what I was thinking. You could get bread on Tuesdays. What do you get on Wednesdays?
You
Water?
get dairy, maybe
And
dairy.
little
Oh,
cheese.
dairy on Wednesday.
Remember the government cheese trucks? They'd pull up and they just start handing out cheese to the people in the streets.
And the path will be free.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be free.
Taking the path will be easy.
Yep. Love it.
I could tell you how a government cheese is because my mother was on welfare when I was a kid, and I could tell you firsthand that stuff was awful. Absolutely awful.
It's FDA approved, Dave.
Oh yeah, FDA
That's what
approved.
Frank has in his store.
That's
Don't worry
right.
about it.
That's right. We slice it real thin.
Puts it on the pizza.
Gotta save money.
The other thing my father wanted to ask about.
Well, let's ask Coach one thing before we lose that and go on to what Herb says, because I love Herb. He's a great man. His dad used to give me legal counsel. That's why I got in so much trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
tell him that,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes,
But what do you think of what happens in your opinion, Coach, down there with keeping Cuomo on the ballot, Adams on the ballot, and Sliwa on the ballot? What difference does that make, or is that going to divide the vote so that helps Zoran get through, or is there a possibility that everybody coalesces behind one of those guys and then you have the alternative?
I think that's what has to happen. Because obviously New York City is so heavy Democrat that what ends up happening if Cuomo runs, Adams and Sliwa, they're good. Some of those votes are going to go to different guys, and he's going to end up. It's all going to be split up. So, my initial thought process is I love Curtis Sliwa. I just don't know if he could get elected. I think to me, Mayor Adams, really, that would be the guy to kind of coalesce with. I'm not a fan of Mayor Adams, but I think it's like one of these things where what can get elected and keep some level of sanity in the city.
right.
That's a good point. I think, but I think in the bottom line, we concur with that right now, that if they continue to split the vote up, and between Adams and Cuomo and Sliwa,
I'll have a chance.
then he has a core group, Mandami, that's going to stay with him, and that's a path again for him to get victory in November. And I told him, Coach, that when you get the Daily News and the New York Post and the New York Times agreeing on something, and that's not Mandami, that tells you something.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things too. Like when you dig on Madami, like
Yeah. I did. I watched a lot of this stuff.
You know how bad it is? One of the financial advisors down in New York City, a big time, I don't know if it's a hedge fund or whatever, but he has a ton of clients. And the day after the primary, when Mandami ended up winning, he had 69 voicemails on his phone from his investors. Billionaire investors are like, what's the soonest I can get out of New York?
Yes, I got to
get out. So bottom line, that's what's going to happen. They're trying to overtax the resource that will not stay in the city and will leave, and they won't have that tax resource anymore. So I think, at some point, how much can a person pay or a corporation or an organization pay to be able to supplement everyone else because of everyone else's hardships? After a while, you've got to create your own success, or you've got to be able to have a stepping ladder to get there, to work hard to get there instead of just waiting for the handouts.
And what I said, Coach, too, is even though he's from his mouth, he's saying, and you're hearing it's affordability. We know that everything he's doing is not going to lend to making the city more affordable, outside of trying to play to, like, say, a free bus ride or something of that nature, lower prices at a government-owned store. I think more importantly is also the safety aspect. The people of New York City want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I don't believe many of the things that he has espoused throughout his career as an organizer and in the assembly has really proven or demonstrated that he's going to take the steps you need to make New York safer.
He wants to send in counselors again.
Right.
Here comes hey, 911. There's
the social workers.
There's a disruption at Popeyes. We're having a eternal fight and all that.
We're gonna talk them off the.
Well, hold on. Let me call one of the psychological analysts and send them down there in the squad car. That we'll keep the police in the car and we'll send out the psychoanalyst to help calm down the situation. Get out of here. Get out of here. Arrest everybody. But let me ask you a question, Senator. Can we lower the amount that is the buffer point for when people go and steal? It can be.
You want to chop their hands off?
It can be up to $1,000 before it's a felony. How about what about $50?
Yeah,
can we get it down a little bit?
That's what you said in Singapore. They just chop your hand off.
No, that's I was in Morocco. When I was
is that
younger.
what it is?
There was a lot of guys walking around with just a left hand.
Yeah.
And we asked her, why is that? He goes, well, they were caught stealing, so they would cut off their right hand. I don't think we should cut off anyone's hand,
that extreme,
but I think we should cane them on live television.
But this is a reflection again of contemporary policies by the ruling majorities on the Democrat side, really, right? Where they believe that prisons should be closed and they really give everybody another chance. Retail theft is so high right now that many of these stores actually just let it go.
Right.
I mean, there are some of these big box stores that really
that's their policy. They tell them don't conflict with anyone. We don't want anyone hurt. Let them take what they want, and we'll just declare it as a loss, and then we'll close.
Well, not only close, they'll pass that cost along to the other consumer,
right?
And that's outrageous. And I think that's the problem we're having right now. Disengage. Don't hold people accountable,
right?
And you can continue to steal, and these guys know that, so they go back. Well, I told one of the stores one day, I know where I'm going to send people for their Christmas gifts. They'll just come to your store and rob up to $1,000, and they don't have to pay for anything.
They're coming in with knapsacks,
outrageous,
and just loading up and walking out, and no one was doing anything with masks on their face because it's okay because COVID's still around.
That's another
4 more years later, and COVID's still around.
But it's not even a COVID issue anymore. It's just the fact that I could not believe that we had a law in New York that was here for 150 years on masking.
Right.
And you know where you could do it, when you can't.
Oh, okay.
So now they eliminated that during COVID because they had to put in the ability to wear the mask, whatever.
Sure.
But banning the speaker and the majority leader of the Senate kept saying, no, our members don't like it. Well, when the hell can you go into a bank with a mask? Why is that okay?
Right. It should be impossible.
So we gave them an idea saying, why don't we just reinstate the old law, which was here for 150 years.
150 years.
And if you want to make a couple exemptions for health or religion, we can look at that. You know what I mean? But to think that you're going to go through a protest and wear a mask is unacceptable.
Right.
There's no reason for you to.
None whatsoever.
But they resisted.
They're
resisted.
They're walking down the street, and this is where mental issues come in for me. They're walking down the street in clear air, all by themselves, and they got a mask on. They're in their car driving.
Oh, in the
all by themselves.
in Old Forge on
and they
the
got
boat.
a mask. They got the boat. They had masks on the boat.
Saw. I see.
They were outside.
I lost my mind when I saw that. We're in Old Forge on the boat, and the people are wearing masks.
That's insane.
Maybe it was too windy.
Right.
It's insane. I mean, my wife's like, well, maybe they have a pollen allergy. Well, 6 years ago, they had a pollen allergy and they weren't wearing them. Come on.
Yeah, no,
the whole defund the police thing again is such nonsense.
Yeah.
It's well, all right. We already tried that, and the cities of Milwaukee, Atlanta,
Minnesota.
It worked out great there. Seattle worked out fantastic.
Seattle.
They took over the precinct for 13 days.
Right, Minnesota. Yeah, it worked out great.
And they had to pay. Do you know they had to pay the people that were holding the precinct to get it back? Do you know that? They held the precinct hostage, burned the place for 13 days. And they had to pay those people that burned down the precinct to get out so they get their precinct back.
Please leave. We'll pay you.
Get the freak out of here.
Yeah, no different than what you saw at the universities like Columbia and things of that nature
my
too.
God.
Insanity.
And you have students who are paying money to go there and get their education, to have it disrupted with no consequences. Outrageous.
Right, with 500 tents that are all the same color and all the same structure, and they're wondering where's the funding coming from?
Oh, and half of them are not even enrolled at the college.
No,
right?
that's right. That's right. You know what I can say? A good thing that's happening. I have a friend of mine. His daughter's at Columbia. She's down there. She initially supported the protests. After about a month and a half to 2 months of the protests, she saw what was going on.
Enough.
She changed. She had enough. She said, "This is wrong. What's going on is wrong." So there are sane people out there. The problem is that the money that's being funded for paid protesters to go out there and incite things,
that's what I couldn't believe,
and then to gather into groundswell, impressionable youth.
So who do I have to? Who do I contact?
Every month it's a new.
Yeah.
Notice when they go from we're protesting pro-Palestine, then all of a sudden it became Gay Pride Month. So then there's
Pride Month, then transgenders.
Then all of a sudden it was no longer. So now it was pro-Iraq protest.
Yes.
Iran protest, which is unbelievable. And then they just shift from one thing to the next. It's like just round.
How do I get on the payroll for that?
Craigslist.
You probably could. They would be
They
glad to
have
have you.
ads.
I'm a good protester.
For the LA riots,
I'm a good
for the
protester.
recent Los Angeles riots, they had Craigslist ads. They would pay between $6,500 and $12,000 a week for you to go down there and. But you need to be a tough SOB. That was the line at Craigslist.
I will.
We need you to be tough, and we need you to go out there and incite problems.
I'll throw my leg at people.
There you go. That's right. That's really tough. That's really tough.
I'll do. No, but my father wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Because he's been discussed.
We came all the way around to this. You say.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
He
still got good memory. I like that.
He's very passionate about this, and it drives him nuts.
This is how the Lebanese work. They lull you into a sense of calmness, and then they come and hit you over the head with a question. Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
He doesn't like the governor, first of all, that Hochul lady.
Yeah,
he doesn't like her.
Yeah.
But the bail reform thing he wanted to ask about. What your opinion is, because he sees people constantly. They go in front of the judge. They commit crimes. They're released. They commit another crime. They're released. Another crime, released.
So what I would
outrageous.
Yeah, totally. And first of all, I wouldn't call it reform. That wasn't reform.
Okay.
There's need, but that's what they call it, bail reform.
Yeah.
But it's not reform.
No,
it's changes to the law. And do we need to reform the criminal justice system? Absolutely. But the first mistake we make is when you do that, in my opinion, I would speak to the people on the ground that have knowledge of the system, whether it's criminal defense attorneys, prosecutors, law enforcement. Get their perspective before you want to try to incorporate or implement something new. Albany's notorious for not doing that. You set education policy. Why talk to teachers or administrators or board of education members? We know best. So they did that in the budget and in the bail issue. But beyond that, they did it in the budget. They didn't even let it be a stand-alone kind of piece of legislation. They put it in a budget process, which is allowed under the state legislative process in the budget. that you can incorporate policy, and something like that so significant. They always try to say there's a financial component. Well, that's BS.
Yes.
There's no, that's bullshit. It really
is.
It's unnecessary. So the enactment of bail has been a disaster. And the governor almost lost her first election.
Yes.
And should have lost her election. And that was a major issue. Two things have happened to her where that what we're saying is right and accurate, like what your father has indicated to you and what we see regularly, and you ask any law enforcement agency, including NYPD, that right now these guys are continually committing to recidivists
over and over
and over again. And we have case after case where you can show that and demonstrate it, and yet they don't want to do anything. So what does the governor now do? The governor and the majorities are saying, well, we have an affordability and a safety issue in New York. You know why they're saying that? Because they know they're in peril right now, that the people are saying that. And if they don't begin, they don't believe it themselves, but they know they have to say it. Just like Mandami right now, he's going to say things that he thinks he needs to say in order to keep people, together in support of him. And that concerns me. And that's where I think we need your podcast and the media and others that are out there on a campaign trail to say these individuals are not being honest with you, and they're not directly going to deliver what they say. And that's the example now with affordability and safety. They tweaked bail, but it amounted to nothing.
No,
but they can say we fixed it. We heard you and we addressed it and fixed it. They did nothing.
Made it worse.
And just like the mask thing, the governor's around parading that she was able to take care of the mask issue. She wanted to lift the mask ban, or implement the mask ban and lift some of the things that was associated with what was done during the pandemic.
Right.
She did nothing.
No.
What she did amounts to nothing.
Right.
Except that she can say I did something, which is not. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. Anybody watch that book? Ever read the book?
Right.
900 vaccinations.
You remember the Emperor's New Clothes, Coach?
Yeah.
Right. And finally somebody's got to say he has no clothes on. She did nothing.
Senator, how safe would let's put an example for New York State right now. How safe would the citizens of the state be if we had a prison like in El Salvador? So let's say you commit a crime and if it fits the regulation, we would send you away. Listen, you get 3 squares a day. You got a nice white, clean uniform. You have a haircut every day. You learn how to do a lot of Saigon squats. I mean, wouldn't that be better for the state of New York if we had something like that?
Yeah, there's got to be a consequence to
I went over the top on that.
Illegal activity, right? I mean, you do something wrong, you pay the price. And I think that's what we're missing right now.
Big time.
The people who serve on our committees on corrections, which implement and advance policy, believe the prison should be closed. Right. We shouldn't have prisons.
No.
I mean, they truly believe that.
Yeah, they don't reform you.
And look, should there be changes and reforms? Yes. I mean, what we witnessed here in Central New York this year,
the Marcy thing,
unacceptable.
Yes.
And there has to be a consequence to those COs who did that.
Right.
You don't murder somebody.
Oh, that's the Fitzpatrick guy that's prosecuted.
He is, the DA out of Onondaga County. He was
I saw him.
Special prosecutor.
Yeah, I like him.
But my point is that, again, no balance. That's unacceptable. And yes, changes need to be made. But when we did away with the with HALT is the opportunity to put people in a solitary environment. Now, it's not like the Shawshank Redemption. If anybody watched that movie, you're not in something
cruel and unusual.
You're actually secluded in your own room. You still have a tablet,
right?
Probably nicer than the one you got us on right now, right? And it's like,
wait a minute. No, stop the presses. Stop the presses.
My yes, great. I've been home for a week. Awesome.
I told you my podcaster that I like, Turtle Boy.
Yeah.
I told you about Turtle Boy. Yeah, Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy went to jail for witness intimidation.
Of course.
Because he was for Karen Reed.
Yeah, that's why he liked you. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why Turtle Boy got sent to prison. He was put in solitary, like he said, and he had a tablet.
Right.
So that's all he did all day was make calls on his tablet. And he would write to people.
Yeah, they call it the shoe, and what it is just a separate room.
It was, and that's all it was.
In many cases, some of the guys want that.
It was medical.
They take them out of the general population.
Yes,
and they want to be there.
He was put.
Stop! Everyone, stop!
He was put there because
I'm 57.
they thought he was going to be
I don't have a fucking tablet.
Yeah,
I don't
know.
have a tablet.
They give you a tablet,
prisoners get tablets,
and you can
They
make
do.
calls.
Where's the torture in this? Where's the punishment, Joe?
Do they get
What
only?
we saw
Do they get
here.
access to OnlyFans too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, and even the contraband that comes into these facilities is amazing. If you think of the creativeness that's put into finding ways to break the rules,
bring the drugs in.
I mean, they broke the law, but obviously now they find ways to break the rules, and to do that, I'm thinking if you could apply that in a productive way, imagine what you would have been able to achieve in society.
I think about
Dave,
about myself all the time.
I know a lot of correctional officers. I really do. So they're really good friends of mine. So one,
You do? You know
I know
COs?
tons of them.
Oh,
I know
okay.
one of them gave me an example of this is how contraband gets brought into the prison. A woman snuck in a pair of jeans. She rolled them up and
Jeans?
placed them inside her vagina.
Well, why? Well, it's got to be a big.
A pair of jeans inside. Wait, what?
A pair of jeans, and she snuck them in.
You're not.
She hit
Oh,
them.
that's
That's 100%.
No,
How do you fit?
That's
a pair
quite a
of
special
jeans up there?
talent.
You listen. I can't explain how. I'm just telling you. This is how contraband gets into.
So
the
you're
prisons.
telling, but they obviously eventually found the jeans.
That's how the story came about, Steve. The jeans were rolled up in there.
So
They did the search.
they got caught.
Yes.
So they didn't get it in.
Well,
and the other issue right now is when they do this, and they're bringing in fentanyl and things of that nature.
That's what they-
Now you're endangering the lives
Lives,
and safety of innocent people like the nurses that are in the infirmary
right.
there to help you.
Yep.
And many of them are taken to the hospital.
Yep.
I mean,
Right.
because they are laced, they touch fentanyl.
Yep.
And this is just outrageous. And to me, these are common sense solutions, right? Where you can say, we can make fixes, but there's got to be because the governor appoints, and she's looked at the most liberal members to put on the parole boards, and most of them are not eminently qualified, and yet have a political or philosophic perspective that reflects the governor and the majorities.
Yeah.
And that's how they get there. And then you're seeing more and more people released.
So this is
At what point are some of these people not treasonous? I mean, it's crazy to me that like communism isn't viewed. Communist policies aren't viewed as national threats to America. I mean,
but
if it was true communist policy, Dave, they'd be throwing all these people in jail and locking them up for life.
McCarthy would be going nuts right now.
I'm saying trying to implement these things that they're talking about is
it is treasonous, though. I agree.
Look what's going on in Britain. I mean, like with one by one, as they get a Islamic mayor who says the right things, and then he turns to Sharia law.
The fundamentalists.
We are on the verge of seeing this in this country. We're only 15 to 20 years behind the curve of Europe, and I'm telling you right now, Senator, I fear Sharia law seeping its way into this country slowly but surely. Minnesota is the groundswell area right now. This mayor in this town may be, because many of his statements have been very highly controversial and aggressive.
Galini?
No, Galini.
We said the mayor of this town.
The mayor of New York. Well, the primary. The primary winner for New York
guys,
City.
I hope you're not foreseeing something. It's not foreboding, right? Because so far you've all slipped, and let's
right. I
do it on purpose. I do it on purpose.
No, but I so with this right now, with him gaining groundswell, and several other regions of this country having a large, not just immigrant, but I'm going to sound racist or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, you are. You're a misogynist.
I'm not. So I'm going to sound like this, but
our comments we're just
Muslim,
three fat guys.
The Muslim surge that had the groundswell in this country that has an implementation of wanting to change the way our society works,
right?
Which has already happened in England, already happened in Germany, already happened. I'm going to Italy. We will be seeing that there as I go there. Already a big major problem in France, where they even have to argue about having women's head covered, not covered. I mean, they've gone through the entire law.
Well, just go
The problems that Europe is facing right now, I feel there are going to be groundswells of nationalistic organizations getting together and starting civil wars in that region of the world, which I would hate to see.
There's not going to be any.
But there will be. You'll see. There will be. Remember how they worried about the neo-Nazis and skinheads? Those organizations will be making a comeback in all those European countries. And I hate to say this. I'm not trying to, but I'm worried that this is going to. We're always 15 years behind the curve.
I don't think that that's going to be the case. What I think is going to be the issue is you're going to have a two-front issue where you're going to have people that are for Islamic Sharia law that are going to stand their ground as to what they want within their communities, and they're going to stand their ground, and people whose towns have been taken over eventually are going to be forced into the conflict at some point, because what you're going to have is you can only, like, eventually it's going to come to a head, because if you unless the country, whatever that country is willing to allow what basically has happened in most of the Middle East, which is outside of Israel. If you are not of the Islam faith, and you are marginalized significantly, and then with the initial hopes of that you will leave, and if you do not leave, if you decide to stay, you are not allowed any level of freedoms. So that happens in Lebanon. It happened in Iran.
You had to say Lebanon first.
Lebanon, for Christianity was the majority of the country.
I know.
That was one of the whole things from the 80s when the whole Beirut war thing was the war. That was what the war was. So that's why you have a lot. What are most Lebanese Americans? Probably Christian, because they were forced out, or felt it wasn't safe anymore for them to be in Lebanon. And so you have a lot. It's because one of the beauties to me of the United States of America is that no matter what your religion is, the rule of law is separated out from religion. Okay, yes. You have freedom of
separation
religion.
of church and state.
The rule of law, even though it's based in Judeo Christian principles in America, but the rule of law, okay, yes, you could say, okay, if you steal an item, that's a crime. If you steal an item in the Bible, that's against one of the
thou shalt not steal. It's the commandment, correct?
But it's not that you say, okay, according to the Bible,
right?
Steal, you go to jail. It's an actual written law in the United States. That makes United States unique over every other country. What Sharia law allows is the Quran to dictate actual law. And right, the Quran interpretation dictates actual law for the government, and that's when you start to have where you can marginalize people. It's the stepping stones to be able to do that, because if you're an infidel and you don't believe it, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Buddhist, if you're Hindu. So anyway.
I just wanted to ask you, because I know you have to go soon, because this is how my mind works. Cuomo,
it doesn't work. Let's just put it.
If Cuomo wasn't so Italian,
listening to you guys right now, though, I'm starting to hear REM singing "It's the End of the World as We Know
It." If Cuomo wasn't so Italian,
that's why we need you, Senator. That's why we need you.
Thank you, Coach.
Doing all that stuff, and didn't get out of office. Hochul never would have run for governor, would she? Well,
no, but I mean, we've had problems here in New York, right? You've had since post Pataki, the last Republican governor.
Yes.
You've had Spitzer resign in disgrace, Cuomo resign in disgrace. Patterson had a number of issues.
He was the black guy, right?
The first African American governor. Very bright guy, very personable guy. And then you had Hochul. And now you got Hochul. She
never would have run.
Look at her judgment just alone in picking her lieutenant governor. The first one was indicted, and had to leave. And then we had to change the law so she could put on whoever she wanted. Then she picks Delgado, and Delgado turns on her. So that's got to tell you something right there, too, right now, right? She can't even get along with the person that
That she wants
chose
her own
her
team.
own choice that in her absence should run the state of New York. So, yeah, I mean, she really there's another example of somebody who really
she just
never
fell
had,
into the job.
she fell into it, but she never had government experience. She was a clerk, a
Right.
congresswoman who was in the right place at the right time.
Right.
In fact, that's a transformation that is amazing, right? Because she had the NRA endorsement when she was in Congress.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden she's anti-Second
She
Amendment
just
and
passed
things
the
of that
gun
nature.
law. She just
Right.
passed the new. That's
So-
the other thing.
So,
That's-
and again, so
I have
they're
a question.
pandering to a constituency, right?
Yep.
They know they need that New York City liberal vote, and that's highly democratic. So they'll pander there.
Oh.
And to me, that's the most disingenuous thing you can do.
Why won't they stand up? Like, why won't, I mean, you see a few Democrats, like Fetterman has kind of taken his own approach to things, like what he believes, and then now they're trying to cast him out. I don't agree with half the things that he believes, but he takes takes more of his own approach to it.
Well, it's like Joe Manchin.
Why won't they fight back against some of the insane far left that they know? A lot of the people in the party, like, I have to believe that a lot of the Democrats, and you probably know obviously so many of them pretty well, they have to know that it's complete craziness the way that they have to, and they're going along with it willingly, knowing it's complete craziness.
Because
why
many
is
of them,
that?
they don't want to lose their seats, right? It's a retention of power.
Really?
So you see a lot of these people that are in office recognizing if they don't change. Cuomo's a perfect illustration. Cuomo had a very successful first term where he governed from the middle. He had a divided government in New York.
I thought he did well during
A
COVID.
Republican Senate and a Democrat Assembly. He brought people together. He got social issues done that some of which we didn't agree with, but he still got it accomplished. And my point is, when he did that, he then faced a primary. I think it was Zephyr Teachout that came after him, right? And then what was the actress that came after him from Sex and the City?
Yeah,
the redhead. Yeah. And so what did he do?
Wow.
So what did he do? He went left. He took that hard left turn.
Oh, okay.
And you see that over and over again.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just basically safeguarding.
It's hypocritical.
We're going to be interested to see what Schumer does. Look
Follow
at
the
him
money.
right now. Schumer actually made a governmental decision earlier on when he
Get
voted
out of here.
he made a
He never
decision
does.
for the interest of the nation, right? When they looked at the continuing resolution, right, to keep the government running, and he got pillared, right? And ALC is going to run against him. So now listen to Chuck now. You know what I mean? Now he's like, he can't say one positive thing about anything.
Nothing.
And I mean, that's a disservice to ultimately what we all need as citizens right now, that, and so that's my impression, Coach, as to why, that they pander and then they want to continue to keep to retain what they hold. And as a result, they sell their souls, basically.
And my dad thinks that AOC really has a chance.
Well, I mean, I think she's a true believer. I mean, I don't know a lot about her. I mean, but I think she is somewhat of a true believer and what she says. Now, whether she concocted that post her, spin as a bartender and whatever, I don't know.
She said she was from the Bronx, and realistically, she's not from that borough. Westchester.
She's from Westchester.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So, like everything else in the political scheme of things, it's all made up.
Well, it's like Chuck is, he's like from everywhere in the state. If you look at him,
Anywhere you can name that. I think he was born in Utica, wasn't
his father was in Utica.
That's
for
right.
A while,
That's right. There you go.
But
See?
you don't blame him for using that. I guess 41 did that when he ran for president because he was from. He had family in Connecticut. They had the place in Maine. Was down in Texas.
Oh, wow.
I don't begrudge them that because if you can use that to build support.
Well,
then
didn't Clinton do that too? She was the senator from New York, right?
Right.
Yes.
Well, they chose New York to retire.
That's what it was.
So
Okay.
and she ran for Senate here.
Yes.
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 And you know who gave her a big endorsement was Frank's Red Hot Sauce, because when she talked about having sauce in her bag, hot sauce in her bag,
Oh, I didn't
the
really.
money
You know
from that campaign promise.
I didn't really like her.
You know what's so interesting?
Like her.
You know what I think is so interesting about the party, like compared to where when Hillary ran against Trump and where Hillary was, which at the time I thought was farther left than she normally would have been. Yeah. And I voted for Trump every single time, but I where she was at that time compared to where the party is now, she would be like labeled like Conservative.
Right. Well, her husband would be as a president.
Yes.
I mean, the way
Right
he
now,
governed in that time of the 90s, or John F. Kennedy right now
Right.
would not even know the Democrat Party. You know, he would be a Republican if he were. So it's just crazy, this change that we've seen. And it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's guided somewhat, in my opinion, not by real principle or policy, but more by pandering and using an ideology.
Want to stay in office?
So,
Well, people like yourself, Senator, and who really are able to continue to hold
the line.
Yeah, hold the line, and guys like Rubio, obviously Trump, and DeSantis.
I like DeSantis.
And Kristi Noem, my personal favorite. So they.
I like the press
you didn't bring any dogs out with you, did you, when you met Kristi?
we won't mention that.
That's right.
My thing is that I think people right now in this country, most of them, I'm not saying all, but obviously a larger majority with this Trump victory, people in this country are fed up and have had enough.
Of course they are.
We've been entertained for a 4-year period with the Biden administration tearing down principal beliefs of what the majority of this country wants, ideology of what this country wants. I mean, we went from generals who stormed the beaches at Normandy to generals who are dancing on a stripper pole. So the thing is that people are that's why they're supporting a Rubio. That's why they're supporting a DeSantis. That's why they're supporting conservative thought and conservative process, because they've realistically had enough.
Well, if you think of the ridiculousness too, when you had Biden say to everyone that he could not secure the borders without a bill, which is the most ridiculous thing, because he's the chief executive officer of the nation.
Yeah.
And he can take actions. He doesn't need legislation. Yes, we need an immigration bill. I think we do need an immigration bill. For too long, we haven't had a real policy, and we can point to that policy to guide us. But in the interim, you can secure the border by taking actions. You're the head you're the chief enforcer as well as the chief, executive officer of the government.
In a 6-month
Trump's
period,
done more.
It's been a 99% success rate of keeping people out of the border now.
Trump has done more in 6 months.
50% diminished transaction across the border, travel across the border of fentanyl.
Yeah,
just alone,
I know
the lives that are being saved by shutting the borders down and controlling what's coming through.
Yeah. So I know we got
a quick question before he has to go. I got a quick question. Is for traditionally, obviously in New York State, it's been like the city, which has obviously been always overwhelmingly Democrat, and upstate, which has overwhelmingly been conservative. Has that remained the case in New York State, or is it shifting one way or the other? I'm curious of that.
I think you're seeing that shift. I mean, and particularly in the urban areas of upstate, like Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany. You saw that in the last race with Hochul and Zeldin.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he overperformed, as he knew he had to, down on Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and in the city. Similar to what Pataki did, but then you had to have an overwhelming win upstate like Molinaro and Astorino did, and Lee didn't. And I think a lot of it was because the governor tried to position herself as a true upstater. Yeah. And then I think she lives in the city now. Yeah. But she told everybody, I'm one of you. I'm an upstater. He's from Long Island. And to a certain extent that worked, where people said, well, she's actually from Buffalo. We don't have a governor from Buffalo. Yeah. She'll understand our challenges and our concerns. Which is the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, she's over there.
But she was successful. Yeah. And I think Lee was an extraordinary candidate. And I think he's doing an exceptional job at the EPA. Yep. And so I think there are changes. And it's similar to, Coach, I don't know if you were on when I talked about how we're purpleizing, if that's even a word, states like North Carolina now. Yeah. Which were really Republican. But now the Northerners moved down there and they're voting blue, even though they escaped New York to get away from what the blue did to them. Correct. And that's baffling. That is really something. You might have to have your son study that when he's in college. We need a paper on that. Like, why would you do that?
I know someone who did that in Albany, a businessman in Albany. It's called iCryo, does cryotherapy. He had 5 businesses in Albany in that area. He was fed up with it. He moved to Florida, and he opened his 3 businesses there. And now he's doing exactly what you're saying.
Voting
he's going the opposite way.
Guys, right. and then when it starts happening down there, they,
right.
you know, so well,
That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
That needs some study and research, really, because we got to figure that out. That needs a sociologist and a psychologist.
Well, I'm a social major. I'll be out.
So, sociology and psychology.
Yeah, 911.
God.
All right.
Senator, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. Honestly, thank you for taking the time. I know you have a busy schedule.
Maybe in the
That's
fall.
the power. That's the power
Anytime.
of Rebel Republic.
Fall
We'll
would be
try
great.
to come out back in the fall.
We're spreading it. We're
All right.
spreading the word.
Coach, stay safe down in the Big Apple.
Thank you. It's great seeing you.
Hide.
Yeah, you're good. You can go.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. That's Senator Griffo. See the power that we have on Rebel Republic.
You guys are so
we just
good.
had a senator on. There's no way to ever top that, Dave. I don't know who else.
Can we replace Steve? Can we replace Steve with Senator Griffo?
No, we're not replacing me.
Senator Coach would like to replace Steve with you every week if that's possible. Yeah, he's honored. He's thinking about it right now. Give it a little bit of
You
time.
know what? That's not fair.
Steve has enough shows will be already. You know what I mean? We can.
That's right.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
When life gives you lemons, hire a senator as the host.
That's right. I heard that.
No, but I did want to tell, because we didn't get to talk about it on Moneyline quick.
Okay.
How we looked at there's no national letter of intent anymore.
No.
They signed financial aid agreements
Yep.
in the NCAA,
Yep.
and so nothing's binding anymore.
No. Well,
If you
it is binding, but there's nothing reciprocal binding, meaning like we talked about with early decision,
ED, yep.
there's nothing reciprocal binding, meaning like we agree that all these schools get together and they say early decision. If they choose their two schools, they can choose from those two, and that's it. There's no NCAA regulation on that as of now.
No, and we talked about that on Moneyline
There's
a little bit.
There was a case. There hasn't been a lot of stuff about this, but there was a case of a kid who actually signed a national letter of intent. And I think this is what brought it all about. He signed a national letter of intent. He didn't want to change his mind. And what he did was
Did he sue?
No, he just didn't enroll in the school.
Oh yeah, that's happened. Yes,
Right. And then the next semester he chose a different school.
Yeah, the quarterback that was supposed to go to Florida did that. He signed the national letter of intent. He was supposed to enroll in January. He just didn't enroll because he claimed that he wasn't getting his NIL deal, and he's the one that went to Arizona, then went to Georgia. Then
He was going to come to UConn, right?
And I was going to lose my mind. I was texting Burton about it. But that's crazy how that happened. And we were just talking about New York City. They finally passed their budget. It's a city record, $116 billion. $116 billion. And it's including mental health care, child care, but also immigration services in it. And they said that it was because they were fighting for a long time over the budget. They said it was easier for Adams to pass it because of the challenge that he's getting from the Muslim guy.
Mamdani.
Yeah, well, I just call him Muslim guy. So yeah, him.
Muslim guy.
Yeah, well, Senator Griffo kept getting mad at me when I said the mayor. He's like, no, he's not the mayor.
Right, it's true. Well, he's not.
Not the mayor. He's the mayor candidate.
I
think Steve secretly is rooting for Mamdani.
My father does too. My father
is. They want an Arab.
I've been watching his stuff. I see why people like him. He's very charismatic. Now he doesn't say anything. He's so smart. He doesn't say anything.
He hasn't held one job
I know,
out of college.
Great. That's great.
He has. What do you mean that's great?
Good for him.
How can he tell? How can he tell what happens? No. How can he tell anything that goes on in the business world? How can he tell anything that goes on monetary as far as policies?
He's managed to survive without working.
He hasn't managed anything. He hasn't worked.
He's living his best life. Without working.
No, he's not. He's an organizer for a living.
Exactly, and he's a rapper. He's done some rap songs.
Oh, he was a rapper.
That's
And
how
he
he's got
starred in a Bollywood movie. His
He's
mother
a survivor,
Right,
as far
right.
as I'm concerned.
and he's been to
he's a survivor.
He's been to many a mosque in the
He's
city
not a
area.
survivor. His parents
Survivor.
Are wealthy.
his father was a college professor.
Right.
Well, I'm saying he's a survivor because he hasn't had a job.
He's a
He's
survivor.
managed to live this long without a real
He's a
job.
survivor. He lives off his parents.
No, that's great.
You know what that's called?
Democratic socialism.
I did that too.
Living off the teat. That's
I
right.
did that. I did
Government
that too.
tit. Get off the tit.
I did that too for 5 years.
No, it's just
So
it's
that would be like you running for office right now. You would
Yeah,
not get
I would win.
no job.
I could beat
no, you wouldn't.
Fellini.
Could talk to everybody.
No, I would win.
Blumpkins for everybody. That'll help.
You know how much support I would have
Oh yeah, they'd go over head over fist.
when my documentary comes out.
Yeah. Oh, your
And
documentary.
It's going to be on
I
Netflix.
forgot. Oh, I can't
And
wait
I'm
till that
such
comes
a-
out.
Yeah, and
Where's my interview?
she's coming July
She's not coming.
14th.
This is
Yeah.
like Ernie.
July. I have the contract right here.
Yeah, I know. You got the contract.
I do. Here.
Come on.
I'll show
I
it
don't
to
want.
you.
I don't want to see no contract. It's
I'll show it
garbage.
to you. It's not
I mean, you can
garbage.
make up anything. You can make up anything at any
It's
time.
not garbage. She mailed it to me.
There's no contract. Please.
There is a contract.
No.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Just
at all.
like
You
Billy
don't
the
mind.
Liquor
Oh,
Guy
no
was going
way.
to buy our podcast.
I had to send it to my dad.
No way.
Billy the Liquor Guy was going to buy the podcast. Remember that one?
No, he still wants to. Here's the contract.
Oh,
Billy the liquor guy.
Here it is.
I can't see that. It's in minuscule. Rights, right options agree. Life rights
Yeah,
option.
I have to sign
What
my.
are you
life
having a
rights.
baby?
No, that's the perk shot. The podcast is the podcast is the story of my life, so I have to sign my life rights away.
The Lebanese lion.
My dad didn't like this one part.
The life of the Lebanese lion. Steve Cully.
That's
From
what they
rags to
call you, the
sewer.
Lebanese lion.
Steve Cully.
This is my
Lebanese
contract.
lion.
For my documentary. You're going to be interviewed for it.
I am. Wait till they hear what I say about you.
The only thing my dad didn't like was it says in here they can fictionalize and sensationalize anything they want.
They're gonna,
So my dad was like, I want that taken out because they could make you into a
Superman.
Nazi pedophile.
yeah, absolutely.
They could
This should be
portray
the
you as a
music in
Nazi
the
That would be
pedophile.
close. You'd be the Lebanese pedophile.
There
Yeah.
should be the
So
music in the background, Steve.
All the time. They should be playing this right here.
you guys, you realize how racist you're being towards me? You're making fun of my race.
I'm just playing
It's
the
racist.
I'm playing the heritage
You're
music.
all
Your
racist.
heritage.
You're all racist. It's
This
fine.
is your.
If you want to be racist, that's fine. If you
I'm
keep
You keep calling the born again Christian a Jew.
No, his nationality is Judaism. He's Jewish.
Judaism.
Judaism is a nationality and a
Can I
religion.
explain this to you since you were
He's
so
from Israel.
ignorant? Can I
He's from
please?
no, it is.
So ignorant. If you're talking about ethnicities, okay,
Yeah,
of Jewish
You're
people,
Jewish. Yes.
No, it's my father is Jewish, but his ethnicity is Ashkenazi, which is European Jewish. Okay,
Oh, so he's not from Israel.
the Israelis mostly are Sephardic, which is Arabic Jewish.
That's right.
No, well,
Okay? That's why they're darker. That's why they Sephardics, people from Israel, have in general have darker skin than Ashkenazi, who are from Europe.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's why
so-
they talk like they have phlegm in their throat. All
so
the time.
you're telling me your dad's religion is Judaism?
Right, but Ashkenazi, okay, this is where people get confused, and Sephardic, which those people in general are Jewish, they were originally a tribe. Do you read the Bible? You know, I know.
Yeah.
When he
These-
jerks
they
off
all-
at night,
they all
he's got
come-
I go to
they
the
all-
church. It's a cult.
Okay, so when
He's got a-
Adam and Eve then had Cain and Abel,
Mhm.
okay, and Cain was casted out, okay,
Yeah, they hated each other.
right, and Abel, right, and then there was another child that they had that was what was his name?
Abraham. Wasn't it Abraham?
Abraham was the descendant of his. It was another. Let me get this right.
I thought it was Moses. Moses.
Hold on, let me get it right. Seth.
Oh, okay.
Seth
So-
Rogen.
Yeah, Seth. Why is there a lot of Jewish people named Seth? Because Seth is Adam and Eve's third child, and Seth is the beginning of all of the tribes and the becoming the Jewish
Really?
tribe. Yes, and which then became also Christians and so on and so forth. But what Cain and Abel, Cain who lived, okay, Cain is of the condemned group.
Oh,
then
that one.
had many different kids. So a descendant of Seth is Noah, right?
Right.
And Noah had all
The
these different sons. Okay, and those sons became what is most of the Middle East. The chosen sons of Noah, I can't remember which one it was. Those are the ones that end up becoming part of the Jewish religion. The ones who are not among the quote unquote favorites of Noah are a lot of the ones that became some of the other tribes, which over time became some of the Arabic tribes of the Middle East.
So
right?
Noah was very promiscuous.
Noah was tasked with repopulating the earth.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
See,
about
Dave,
that.
Dave,
I mean,
Steve-
yeah.
Steve reads the Bible, so he,
No,
when
I
he
do.
at night in bed, he jerks off with his right hand and he holds the Bible in the left and reads it.
No, I go to the church. That's a
I
cult.
think the children were like Shem. I think Shem. I'm not perfect at this, so don't quote me. But
We were
Shem,
reading
Ham,
Exodus
and like
yesterday.
Japheth. I can't remember. I should know this. I thought it was Shem. That's the one that was. I'll find it for us. But
We were reading from the book of Exodus yesterday in church. I
Let's-
go to the
okay,
same
so
church as the senator.
Seth is Enos. Where's Noah? Where's Noah in this tribe? All right, Noah then had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, and Cain had.
Was it all the same wife?
Cain's group ends up stopping at some point, I guess, because he's part of the condemned. Yes, his family tree didn't make it, and then Noah's family tree is the one that is basically the predominant tree now. Because what happened,
Really?
I don't know the whole details as to what happened with Cain, but he was basically condemned, obviously.
Noah's lineage is continued through today, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Holy crap. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, Cain's lineage is obviously Abel died. Cain's lineage stopped at some point. I don't know the exact. I wish I could say I was perfect with the Bible, but I'm not. I mean, I read it, but let's see. I'm going to Noah's. Here we go. Shem eventually formed Abraham. Down the line, became he's like was Abraham, which then led to David and Solomon and so on and so forth. Then I don't know,
All right, so you cleared it up for me. I mean, you Judaism. Because I thought Jewish people would say
stems from
it's
there.
a religion and a nationality. I thought it was both.
That's why it's a religion. That's why it's obviously back then Noah. I don't know.
I see what you're saying now.
They didn't have a religion, Noah, per se, right? I mean, believed in God.
Right.
It wasn't but eventually, yes. That's why it's also an ethnicity and a religion, because
nationality
related with that group and that group that populated that part of the earth or whatever.
So, the last thing my father wanted to ask, what do you guys think of this big, beautiful bill? Is it going to pass? I mean, it has to.
Well,
right?
I think it'll get passed because of the ramifications of it not getting passed from Trump coming down on the senators that won't vote to approve it would be catastrophic for their reelection campaign. So
because they won't.
I think you'll eventually see it, right? I think there's a problem with Medicaid, which needs to be resolved a little bit. They need to tweak it a little bit, but after that, I think you're going to see it passed. I think the biggest thing that has happened this week has been the Supreme Court making the decision that the lower courts cannot impede the president as far as him handing out executive orders to determine the path of the country that he wants to go.
Exactly.
I know that they're saying it's a dictatorship, but it's not. I'm sorry, I'm getting waved here. What? I'm sorry. Yes. We're
why?
Yes.
You want to let the dog in?
Because the dog
went out.
No, the dogs are supposed to go out. Okay, so we're back live. Okay, so the whole idea is the Supreme Court making the decision.
Yeah.
Allows President Trump now to continue the process,
the executive order
between the immigration rulings that he's trying to do and pass, the security issues, the stopping stuff from crossing the border. I mean, there's a multitude of things that are happening with this decision that allows Trump to further pursue his agenda without being impeded every 2 seconds by some liberal lower court judge. Right. All right, I feel better now.
But Dave, what do you think about the big beautiful bill?
I don't know all the ins and outs of it, honestly. I support anything that Trump put forward.
Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okay,
that's great.
All right,
you MAGA lover.
The thing is, I don't know how that happened because I really wasn't I voted for him initially. I was a little the first time. Right. I was a little I think on the fence, maybe.
But with him and Hillary?
I just hated Hillary.
I hated Hillary too.
I'll tell you this about Hillary though. I don't like Hillary, the way she comes across. I do respect her though, as she is a brilliant person. I think Hillary's brilliant. I think Bill Clinton's brilliant. I don't agree with a lot of the policies they have. But I do
Bill
think
had some good policies.
I do. I think that they're very, very, very smart. I just like what Trump was trying to do at the time, and I almost always vote
was an underdog.
I almost always vote Republican.
So you're like me. You're a registered Democrat.
If someone was a Democrat that actually was good and made some sense, which is almost none of them. I would vote for whoever the best person is.
You're like me. You're a registered Democrat.
No, I'm a registered Republican. Die hard. It would take.
Well, then how did you? I say you voted for Trump over Clinton. I got you.
Yes.
Okay. You're not Obama over Clinton or whatever in the primary because you wouldn't be.
I think Dave would have voted for a possum over Clinton.
Yes.
I get it.
My issue with Hillary is just I think she's a little bit arrogant. I think that she's got a lot of anger. I think she's a really smart person. I think she's a really
not smart with her emails.
What she accomplished in a time when she a lot of women didn't accomplish some of the things that she accomplished.
You're saying when she was first lady?
No. I'm saying she was already doing before that. Listen,
she was a brilliant lawyer.
Bill Clinton, because I'm sure they were a power couple because he was a very smart guy, and she's a very smart woman.
She was a great lawyer. Yeah, she's a very successful lawyer.
I mean, but anyway, but no, I mean, I love what Trump's doing. I more and more. I feel like, look, he makes mistakes. There are people that make mistakes on things, and he's made some mistakes. But when he could prevent making a mistake, meaning when he had all the information necessary, he makes some really good decisions. COVID.
Well, he's got a really good administration too.
COVID was a very difficult time period.
Yeah.
And I think that there were some mistakes made, not because he was trying to do the best job he can. I think a lot of people were lying to him, including the CDC. You know what I mean? So that was a very, very difficult time. But I think you're right. What he did do this time, I thought he learned from the first time. He got some great people in his cabinet this time.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
He really did a great job this time of that. I think he learned from last time.
He got people that are not backstabbing him. He got people that are not backstabbing him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone criticizes that Robert Kennedy guy, But other than him,
No, they didn't. He's not backstabbing the president.
no. But
They may
I mean,
criticize
people,
what
people
his
don't
brother-
like him.
But I mean, bottom line, look at what happened.
RFK is a
Just
great man.
I think he is
yeah.
too. I think he
Think
is too.
about
but
what he's
people don't
been
like him.
through. Think about what he's been through in his life.
I can't even imagine.
You
I
know,
can't
I
even
mean,
imagine.
other than the fact that they're obviously wealthy, but as far as he lost his, didn't have a father. His father was killed in cold blood when he was a baby.
Uncle killed. I mean, no,
Uncle killed.
No, I
Lots of others have had issues throughout the years.
That Patrick Kennedy, he was the one
Crash
who had issues.
skiing was one of them. Crash skiing. Ted Kennedy situation.
Oh, we did the Chappaquiddick thing.
That was a great.
Yeah, but and I asked you this, and you agreed. If the Chappaquiddick thing didn't happen, you think Ted would have won the presidency?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Here's how loyal the people are in the administration. So earlier in the year, Tulsi Gabbard had gone in front of Congress and had made the statement that Iran is not close to producing a nuclear weapon. Then after Trump declares the order to drop bombs on the nuclear facilities in Iran, reporters come up to him and go, it seems that people in your administration, I'm totally off now. I can't even hear.
Oh, that was you.
It seems that people in your administration have said that Iran had no nuclear capabilities as far as producing a weapon.
Right.
And Trump said, "Who said that?" And then they were like Tulsi Gabbard. He said she's wrong.
Yeah.
So now what happens? It gets back to Tulsi Gabbard, right? That the president said that about her. Any other person from previous administrations would have argued with the president. Oh, no, the president doesn't know what he's saying. I'm not wrong. I don't know. Tulsi Gabbard said, you know what?
I'm wrong.
You're twisting what was said and all that. But bottom line, President Trump is correct on what he said. So the loyalty factor and the admission by the people that work for this president that he is the president and he will call the shots are what is driving the success right now in the policies that are being implemented in this country.
I think the character of the people that he has in his cabinet is a lot better. Tulsi Gabbard is a good person, from everything you read about her.
Absolutely.
Marco Rubio, Marco Rubio was Trump's enemy number one the first time that he went after, little Marco.
He was scared
Marco Rubio was willing to swallow all of that, swallow his pride and be able. That's a hard thing to do. I don't know if I could have done it.
He's doing what's best for the country.
It was best for the country. Focuses on the things that he needs to focus. To me, Marco Rubio is obviously him and Vance are going to be the two leading candidates when Trump comes out. And then DeSantis is third. DeSantis is third, right?
And remember, Marco Rubio also, if there's an assassination attempt and somehow they get Trump and Vance in the same shot, Rubio's president.
He's third in line.
And that's look. Think about that. I thought he did a great job with that. So that's a great succession group. Vance and Rubio, right? Yeah. I mean, I would have complete confidence in each one of those people. And to me, I think Vance is going to be. He's young. He's going to be just an unbelievable politician as he keeps getting better and better.
Now, yes.
But Marco Rubio is already there. I mean,
he's been there. Yes,
he's polished. He's been a senator, obviously, and he. I like how Marco Rubio focuses on the important things. He does not get bogged down. And he'll take. I actually think he might have learned from the battles he had with Trump, where he's just like, I got to take stands, and he does now. It's one of those things that sometimes your medicine may not taste good, but it may help you in the long run. I actually think that in the long, like what could have been the end of his career politically, as far as rising to the highest level, he still would have been a senator, but he figured out. And learn from it.
How to get along. Yeah.
He's stronger than ever, And DeSantis has learned from it. And
I love DeSantis.
Vance is obviously a fast rising guy. Hegseth, I think that's how you say it. I didn't know what to expect with Hegseth. I mean, he's pretty damn tough, And so I think that those those people, obviously Christy Nome, like, don't
I
be
even
fooled
like
by
Cash
how
Patel.
beautiful she is. She will cut your throat, man. Like she's fantastic. Like, these people have left their jobs as senators or governors to come work in the cabinet.
And
So
do what's best for the country.
He's put together, in my opinion,
The best team.
maybe the best team since
Clinton.
no, way back. I'm talking like FDR. You know, when FDR had to clean up the. I mean, we're going back to that.
That's how far we're going back.
Like, JFK had a pretty good cabinet, but he made some mistakes too with the Bay of Pigs and those kind of.
I got bad info on that one.
FDR is probably the last time you had.
FDR is my favorite president. So
over Abraham Lincoln or George Washington.
What does FDR stand for?
I used to like the fireside chats he did.
What's FDR stand for?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I like him. Him and Teddy.
Just giving you the citizenship.
Teddy was a great president.
No, but I'm saying you are correct as far as best presidents ever. Lincoln, Washington. That's most people say.
I think Trump's put together an amazing group.
Yeah.
It really is. It's an all-star group that has basically gotten together. I mean, look,
they said enough is enough.
He has a group of people that have been instructed to have the sensitivity of zero fucks given.
Well, it's zero tolerance.
No, not zero tolerance. They don't care what the media is going to say.
No.
They don't, because they know it's going to be wrong.
No.
They don't care what insiders are saying.
No.
They obviously don't care what liberals are saying. Right. None of the stuff. They understand they're there to do a job. They're focused on what they're doing. They're committed to what they're doing, and they're going to act on it.
They're cleaning up a mess from 4 years.
That's just the thing.
Jesus.
In 6 months.
Yeah.
In 6 months, they cleaned up a border mess that was beyond repairable compared to the administration that was there. Well, we just can't do nothing about it, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but there's no way we can secure it. With a snap of a finger and an executive order, you've got security across the whole border, both north and south.
Right.
Right now, everyone was worried about, boy, there's going to be some sleeper cells in Iran because, we drop bombs on the nuclear facilities and all that. Our interior intelligence has everyone mapped out. We know every Iranian that's around.
We do.
And so you have to understand
the
that
national security's never been stronger.
You have to understand that is a huge part of the success of this administration is policy and security.
I agree. And
he's not even been in there for 6 months. I guess he's just at 6 months.
He's done more in 6 months than Biden's done in 4 years. And just like Senator Griffo said, what we really need, we need to focus on protection.
Yeah.
And the New York City thing with defunding the police and all that, we've seen, like you said, how it turned out in Seattle, Minnesota. I mean, it's scary to think about if they actually go through with it in New York. New York will be it'll be the Bronx on fire.
And Griffo asked me a good question. He asked me a good question because I think it's a really tough question because I like all three of the other candidates better than Mamdani. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of Cuomo.
You like Cuomo? Oh, okay.
No, I'm not a huge fan of Cuomo. I honestly, like the guy who I like the best is Curtis Lee. I just don't think he's gonna.
He's like an Illinois Nazi to an average American. When they look at him, they see the beret on the head. They think of vigilantism. That they don't want.
Well, that's right. He's a vigilante.
Does Adams have a good chance to win?
Adams may.
I think we could. Yeah,
sorry. No. I was just saying he may have a chance to win, definitely, because he will receive the anti-Mamdani vote,
correct,
as from Democrats as a protest because they don't want their city to go up in flames.
People will turn on him eventually.
I think, unfortunately, because Sliwa is the Republican, I don't think Sliwa anticipated that it would be a Mamdani. I'm sure he anticipated it'd be Cuomo, and then you have a three-way battle: Cuomo, Adams, and Sliwa. Which who knows who would win in that, right? But probably would have been Cuomo. But
why? Let me ask you this: why was Senator Griffo saying that Cuomo can still stay in the race even though he lost the primary?
Be like an independent.
Okay.
I don't think he'll
I mean,
stay.
Bloomberg won as an independent, if you remember.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
I
He
don't,
was
I don't
the
think
first time he
Cuomo will
won
stay.
as a Republican. First
Yeah.
2 times maybe he was a Republican, and then he went as an independent.
Independent.
Yeah, I mean, but he was so powerful at that point. And listen, the two best mayors in as far back going back to when
Well, Giuliani
maybe
was one of the best.
since maybe Ed Koch,
Ed
I
Koch.
guess. Yeah, it has been Giuliani #1, Bloomberg
Bloomberg
#2.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Giuliani was the best. Bloomberg, who had the longest, obviously, tenure,
Run. Yep.
is the second best. There was Bloomberg was a little crazy with he wasn't necessarily wrong with the biggie sodas and all this kind of stuff,
Right.
but he was a little crazy with some of that stuff. But like, if someone wants to have their big soda, let them have their big soda. I'm not saying he wasn't wrong, because he probably was like, hey, as Americans, as New Yorkers, we're eating these gigantic, it's not healthy. But you don't really want to legislate that stuff.
Well, what about Adams? How would you rate him?
Listen, I'd like him better than
Anyone else that's
De Blasio.
He's a disaster right now, but still
He is.
better
Better
than
than
de Blasio
De
and better than Mamdani. Better option.
Yeah,
Wow.
listen, he is
Even with the $116 billion budget he just passed, the highest ever.
he is not. Again, this is going to be the lesser of two evils in a situation.
I see what you're saying.
Right. Right.
Adams is not going to he's not
Right.
going to completely destroy New York City. The one thing he has been really good with, there are two things I think Adams has been good with. And he probably kissed up to Trump because he was in trouble. I get all that,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
he was-
but in all
indicted.
fairness, that's
Yeah,
been
he-
his undoing. So it was risky of him to do that, and because that's been his undoing. But the one thing he's been decent at is when these things have gotten crazy with the protest, and like, even though you're fighting, you got all these brush fires, you're fighting all over the place all the time.
Putting them out. Yeah.
When he's been willing to put them out, and be willing to say, hey, this stuff is wrong, which also got him outcasted in the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Like those are some of the things that he's outcasted for, because he didn't want like people beating up people in Colombia, and he didn't want, because he kind of agreed with Trump on some things. Like
Some policies, yes.
that's how crazy the left is, dude.
They're
The left-
insane. They're insane. It's over.
Well,
Whatever. Hey, I know you're going to sign off here, I think, right?
yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say another
just
banner
wanna-
episode of Rebel
I just want
Republic.
to say one thing, if I could. I had a friend just recently pass away, New York City cop.
Yeah, I know.
He was put his 25 years in. He just retired 2.5 years ago. He had been battling sickness the last 4 years. He worked on that 9/11 pile of rubble that was there, and he's another victim of the cancers and sickness that came out of that.
The
that
case?
cleanup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get
so-
the family will get money.
He's I just want to give him his 10 minutes of fame. He's 55.
That's so sad.
Real good friend of mine. I'd go down twice a year to go see him. He was actually scheduled.
He's a Cortland guy, right?
He's a Cortland guy. He came.
You used to talk about him.
I talked to him 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and the doctor gave him 2 years to live.
Yeah.
So he said, "What's his bucket list?" He says, "I want to go to Italy." I said, "You know what? We're gonna do it. Let's make it happen." So we're going to Italy. He's coming with us. I talked to him last Friday. This past Tuesday, I found out that he died, and I couldn't make his bucket list. I say this not for sympathy, not to get claps or anything like that. I say it just to honor the man.
He
Great
deserves
man,
it.
Carlos Morales, NYPD, 55 years old. Please support Tunnels to Towers. Support these organizations that help these people that military or that have worked at 9/11 or that were part of the tragic event of 9/11. These are things that, number one,
the blue line.
we shouldn't forget.
Yep.
America is one thing. We forget everything. We move on to the next cause and always forget about the past.
The news cycle is too fast.
History is important, and we need to honor that. And I just wanted to put that out there right now. So I'll be down in the city on Thursday for a wake, and I'm sure the NYPD will put on their finest too to salute them. But we'll see. We'll just put it out there.
We'll put it in the show notes as well.
Are they doing any donations for him?
I don't know. They had something
They
on
gotta
the
probably do that.
on the page of the funeral home.
Yep.
As far as
where what you could donate to.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think it is.
I'll
Yep,
put
yep.
that on. I'll put that in the show notes.
No problem.
All right. So sorry for your loss.
No, it is what it is.
Great
It
guy,
is what it is.
and served our country. And we need more people like that, and people like Trump and Senator Griffo. Great job. He did money line with us too.
Did he really? This was
He
my
did. He knows his shit. He knows his shit.
He had a
Sports
ball,
wise,
man. He had a ball.
Although we asked him, "Do you know who Diana Taurasi is?" And he had no
He said
idea.
no.
Said
Yeah.
no.
Well, he didn't know.
Didn't. But I said, "Do you know who Caitlin Clark is?" He said,
Yes,
"Yes."
she did say us. He did say us that.
Yep.
Yep. So he had more fun on our show than he did on Keeler's.
Of course.
Because we gave him more time.
Yeah.
So another banner episode. Wow, high viewership too. We were over 300.
6?
We were over 300 at one point.
Oh, that's right.
Dave, thank you for coming back and great job. Did your son's team win?
We won 21-10.
Beautiful.
It was a
So we're
21.
still
That's
alive.
why the
We're
game-
still
that's why the
alive.
game went so long.
Who kicked the field goal for the opposition there, Dave? Who kicked the field goal?
That's why the
Yeah,
game went so
baseball.
long. He
Baseball.
texts me at like 8:45 and says we're in the 4th inning.
We only. By the way, we only went 4 innings, so it was
the 10 run because they had the 10
10
run rule.
10-1 rule, right? So
That's right. That's how you got out.
if that team scored another 2 runs, you
I
know,
kept thinking there's no way he's going to make it on, and then you're like, I'm
if
on my
we
way
went
home.
6 innings.
Yes.
If we went 6 innings, I'm not kidding. It would have been like 30 to like 18. Like the amount of runs that are being scored because it's we're in the
slow pitch baseball, Dave. Is that what
no,
it is?
no, you know
No,
what it
there's
is?
10U.
The
Oh,
tournament.
10U.
You're
All right.
playing like it's the All-Star tournament.
Yeah, the
You're playing like
All-Stars.
every day. Nobody's got
Like-
pitchers left.
Andy
Uh,
Weimer's coaching.
You know what I'm
because
saying?
he
The
knows
pitchers
those
are
sports.
the pitchers are
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
and
they throw their
gone.
arms out. Yeah.
They're burnt. They're burnt.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, good. You get to go to another week.
Nice.
But he made it. We had a great time with Senator Griffo, and I can't complain. This banner episode.
Yep. I keep promising Jimmy
one's for the
Fallon.
book.
Jimmy Fallon will be next. He just texted me. He's going to California. He'll be back on the 9th of July. He says he'll hit me up right
and
after
Dave,
that.
man, we had a huge Husky huddle. It was close to 500. It was close to 500 because we argued for so long and had Jamal Hunty on. So I'll say it for Senator Griffo. We thank you, the voice of reason over here, the coach over there, the best podcast in the host in the universe here. And this has been Rebel Republic. Remember, you're either with us or you're against us. And if life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at the Islamic mayor candidate of New York City.